Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to us. Welcome back to another edition of the Layman's AI Podcast. I am Adam,
And my name is Brian.
and we want to welcome you guys to the first episode of 2026. Brian, I hope you and the family had a very good holiday season and a happy new year as always.
Oh, absolutely. Things went about as smooth as holiday plannings can go. I don't know how. I think yours went okay, I suppose.
Yes, ours went absolutely fine. And I'm happy to say that by the time this airs, people will have already known that the Cleveland Browns won their last two games of the regular season. And I know
Yeah.
this is a layman's AI podcast, but we don't get to celebrate success much as Browns
Yeah.
fans. So
Yeah. Success is relative, for
always very
sure.
relative, but if any reason to be happy. If I could
Exactly.
tie that back to AI, if you put in a prompt and you get the answer you want and it makes you happy, then you know what? You did good. So
Exactly.
for this week's episode, we are making some predictions for what our laymen's are going to see in 2026. So,
Hmm.
full disclosure, we did not use AI as much on this one in terms of finding the research. We did the good old-fashioned way of reading somewhere between 8 to 12 articles on predictions that we think we're going to see, that experts think they're going to see in 2026.
Hmm.
We eliminated some of the stuff that doesn't count towards layman's AI or that doesn't count towards AI. For example, we saw a lot that coffee prices are going to be going up in 2026.
Ooh,
Unfortunately, yeah, we
that
might only
sucks.
be doing one or two
Hmm.
Starbucks runs a week, no more 3 to 4.
Yeah, well, I like to brew it at home, so maybe it won't hit me too hard.
I don't
So
think it'll hit
it's
you
all a
as hard, but
percentage.
it's still we're gonna feel it apparently.
It's all a percentage. I'm gonna cut down from 5 cups to four. So,
There we
but
go.
yeah, either way. But I think for our listeners, Adam's selling himself short. He did most of the legwork on this one, but I digress. Yeah, 2026. I think this is going to be a big turning point in AI
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
general for a number of reasons. I think 2025, like we did with our whatchamacallit, our year in review, it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of became mainstream and everyone's like looking at the cool new kid on the block and everything. And I think 2026, we're gonna kind of actually see the hype settle down quite a bit. I think
Mm-hmm.
there was a boatloads of investment into AI infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's going to slow down, first of all, but we can get to that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go with our first kind of prediction, and this one's
Yep.
kind of predictable, a predictable prediction,
If
and
you're a
everything.
past, if you listen to our past episodes, you're not going to be
Yes.
surprised at this
Yeah,
one, that
not,
what we are predicting is going to happen in 2026.
yes, not at all. But 2026, the year of the AI agent.
Correct.
We still need to do a full episode on agentic AI, but
Mm-hmm.
for those of you that don't know, agentic AI is where you actually take the AI tools, such as an LLM, etc., and you actually guide it to do something, what you want it to do and how you want it to behave. And I think this is really going to take off this year because
Yes.
agentic AI building is becoming easier. I think people are it's going to be a specialty. I think is agentic AI engineering.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get a new job, I say go for it.
Yeah, that's your key. And there's, like most AI, there's not a lot of experts in it. There are some wonderful tools that I'm hoping that we're going to explore in 2026.
Hmm.
There's wonderful tools where you can create your own agents, and by agents, some of the things that are unique, these agents can actually, if you give them permission, take over your own computer to do work for you. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of programming to do, but some of the examples we're given is like shopping things or find things
Hmm.
at a good price or things like that, scheduling, typical stuff that there's an AI tool for. But the agents, we believe, and some of the articles I read believe this is the year it's going to take off. And it did get a
Definitely.
lot of momentum starting probably in the summertime, I felt, of
Hmm.
2025. And it really started pushing the gates this year. They're open now.
Oh, definitely.
I actually think in 2026 we are going to see benchmarks that measures the success of an agent. I'm not sure if that even exists right now. If it doesn't, I think it'll be. If it does, I think it'll be more mainstream and we know about it. So there will actually be a
Hmm.
measurement tool that will show you how accurate this AI agent is going to be because agents have the power to do work for us while we're sleeping. If you're like a realtor
Yeah.
and you're trying to get leads on houses and sales, it's possible to create an agent that can work for you
Hmm.
not necessarily 24/7, but pretty much 24/7, depending on
Yeah.
how you look into it. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that come to the forefront in 2026. I don't think that's a big, bold prediction.
Hmm.
I think we're both pretty confident this is just going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things you can have agents do. You can literally have it do anything.
Yeah.
I think one video I saw, they were talking about how to build an agent. I was just kind of poking around at it a little bit, but the guy used it to, the video I saw, I forget the YouTube channel, but he used it to make an automated pizza ordering system. He had his pizza shop called Slice Slice Baby.
Awesome.
Obvious reference right there.
Awesome name.
Yes, yes, definitely. But he basically kind of set it up to order a simple pizza. And if you ever worked at a pizza shop, it can be difficult to get on the phone with somebody and everything. And the online ordering definitely helps out a lot there. And he kind of used it. Okay, what would you like? What are you looking for? And kind of use it to sort of interact with everybody. It's a very bare bones example of everything. I don't have a whole lot of examples. A couple things that come into my mind are if you're working in a factory and you're having some machines and equipment go down, you can bring up an agent and say, "Hey, look at these machines for me. Tell me what's going on." This is my background in automation talking here,
Mhm.
but you could basically tell it to look at this machine, tell me what you're thinking, and the agent can kind of do some work for you. And you can, before you leave for the night, be like, "Okay, agent, I want you to keep an eye on this, and this, and put it into a spreadsheet for me, et cetera, et cetera." And I think, and then you just leave for the night. And a lot of people don't know that there's 24/7
Right.
factories and what have you. You can even do it on the heating and cooling systems, power grids, and everything. And you can tell the agent to specifically look at things for you.
Hmm.
And another kind of idea just sort of popped into my head. If you're an inspector role, you could use it to guide drones. My my words are getting ahead of my thoughts here. But if you like example like the big towers, like the big cell phone towers that people have, or anything with like a massive tower, you have to inspect those constantly to make sure the infrastructure is working okay. And you can guide an agent to sit there and say, "Hey, send the drone up to these towers at these times and double check it for me, and send me anything back that might look suspicious or what have you, or send me a report back." But
Hmm.
those are kind of like some agentic AI examples I can think of. And I think once people really start to see AI agents in action, you're going to see the real potential of AI
Yeah.
pretty much uncovered here.
I agree. I think the we should point out that the agent that we're referring to this term, it's a little more. If you follow our past episodes, it is much more than like the GPT we created to help you with your Christmas shopping.
Definitely.
The agent is much more specific, targeted, can search internet, can use different AI tools at times.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you wanted to use information it gets from Perplexity, it could take the Perplexity search engine. If you want to dive down, dive in deeper using like a Chat GPT, you're able
Hmm.
to do that with your agent. So you're literally commanding it to use several different platforms. You're allowed to do that. You can do that.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of uses, a lot of applications for this, and I think it's already getting larger. This market for it. This is kind of a safe prediction for
Hmm.
2026. I know we've referenced it before, and I have no doubt we'll be discussing agents this year on this podcast. It's kind of overdue on our part, I think.
Yeah, I know.
So
I feel like we've let our listeners down and haven't covered agentic AI in detail yet.
right,
But that's going to be a very detailed YouTube channel or YouTube episode, I should say.
yeah,
But
that probably, yeah,
yeah, either way, but that's a good prediction. Gonna move on to the second prediction.
yep,
AI and mental health heavily regulated. This is a very interesting one because mental health can be sort of open to interpretation as to what you mean
mm-hmm,
by it, I think.
yep,
But as far as like the mental health is concerned, there are instances where LLMs have given some very poor advice,
yep.
and there's a lot of regulatory issues right now. I believe Grok recently, users were able to take pictures and say, "Undress this woman for me," and a lot of countries are starting to take issue with that. I think ChatGPT might have helped a kid write a suicide note before, and these are like the big shock stories that I think these guardrails are going to really start to go up in a
I
hurry.
think, and I guess the a little bit of good news on that is I believe these AI companies want those guardrails up.
Hmm.
I really do. I don't think they want to be attacked in the news, but I also don't think anybody wants anybody to get hurt or have pictures of them that are
Yeah,
inappropriate as a
definitely.
result of some person who knows AI very well. It's inappropriate.
Hmm.
What's interesting about this though is some countries like the United Kingdom is actually launching its first regulatory framework for AI in healthcare altogether.
Hmm.
And the European Union is also rolling out rules centered around high risk AI uses, so that you can flag. When I read this, it's basically if you notice a user is searching for components that are a little off or a little concerning, it sends that flag, which I think you and I mentioned in our mental
Hmm.
health episode. Would be interested in AI developing some sort of a red flag of going, hey, this person may need checked on. They're starting that out there. And I'm happy to say in the United States, when I was reading these articles, we have several states. I know, looking at the list right now that I compiled,
Yeah.
Illinois, Nevada, and Utah have already passed legislation, excuse me, restricting AI therapy.
Hmm.
So they've gone a step of no, you cannot use AI therapy. Now, some people are still going to use it on their own, even though they probably shouldn't. But I
Hmm.
like the fact that they've taken some steps. And I think, based on what I've read, I saw this in several of the articles that I read, this is becoming a larger concern. It's not in the news as much as apparently it should be. And I truly believe that this year you're going to see much more AI regulated therapy rules, including things like you either can't use it or you cannot have it on you or you cannot use it to reference patients. I think we're going to see some serious guidelines on this. I think you're going to see when you go into ChatGPT and ask questions about mental health stuff, it's not going to be able to give you an answer. It's going to say, no, that violates our content guidelines.
Oh, definitely. I think you're going to see a lot of these LLMs. I think this is where they're gonna get hit the hardest. Are these
Hmm.
large language models like
Yeah.
Gemini, like ChatGPT, and all those things? Because you're basically saying, "Hey, do whatever, do everything, do it all." And I think this is where, you're seeing like these fault gaps right here, as
Hmm.
I kind of alluded to it, like ChatGPT or one of them helped write a suicide note or whatever. And I think you're going to start to see all this regulation, and these companies are going to have to go back into their models and really, instead of growing them faster, they're going to have to like retool them persistently.
Hmm.
Because if you start to get into this idea of using AI as companionship, which a lot of people have reported using AI for companionship. I think that's the line I don't like crossing myself
Uh,
as going that far.
we live once, and you got to have a human connection.
Yeah,
But you don't need a
and
lot of them. That's what I've learned as I get older. You don't need a lot of human connections, but
yeah, I
you need a
think.
human connection.
Yeah, I definitely think you're going to start to see some like kind of regulations in that regard as to, how much do you want this LLM to try to be a companion? And that's kind of where I think a lot of these LLMs are going to start to see the most regulation, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because I just think that they're going to be, um, the first ones targeted and whatnot.
Yeah. And on a positive note, this is a fair place to start for regulation. I know we've said we
Hmm.
felt AI has been underregulated, and this is a fair starting point. Like, okay, we know we have mental health crisis in this country. Let's try to get some parameters in place to not exacerbate that crisis. And this
Hmm.
would be a good way to start. So I wasn't terribly unhappy when I started reading, saying, you know what, this makes sense. There should be regulation in this.
Yeah, definitely.
Wanted to see what was going on with our friends in Australia and New Zealand in terms of mental health and AI use, and I couldn't really find anything that was groundbreaking or said anything different. So I'm just going to assume we're having the same issues. They're seeing some of the similar issues over there, and hopefully they get some AI regulation as well going. But I don't know. So if you're a listener in those areas and you hear us, reach out to us on LinkedIn or,
Give us a
or
ring.
wherever you can find us, and just let us know like what's going on there. We're curious to hear this.
Yeah, definitely give us a ring. But yeah, I think this is a good spot for regulation. I think this is going to get the ball rolling. Hopefully, people can start agreeing on regulation or legislation to pass or what have you. But
Hmm.
hey, we'll see how it works out. But either way, I think that's a good pivot into our next point, and I think
Hmm.
this kind of is one of the big ones, I think.
Yes.
AI stocks lose their luster by the end of the year. Um, I do think that this is going to be a big one. I think this kind of speaks to a whole as the business of AI is going to start to come into focus and everything
Yes.
because these AI companies are building these data centers, they're building these models, all this computing power, et cetera, et cetera. They are throwing massive dollars into the development of everything. They're just like throwing the money, and just like kind of like basically giving them a blank check. I think it's already started. I think company people who
Right.
are looking to invest in this technology be like, hold on a second, why am I investing in this money? And up until this point, it's been like, because it's AI, it's a cool thing, it's awesome, it's
Yeah.
AI, AI. And everyone was like, okay, and what? And now I think that's kind of where people are starting to look at it as far as like, okay, what am I getting back? How am I making money? It's AI. No, it's like you tell me how I'm making money off AI.
Right.
Everything's AI now.
We're past that, and now we're looking into. I mean, you and I've done episodes. I keep saying that. I'm pretty proud of that.
Hmm.
The cost of AI is going up to operate it, and it's
Uh-huh.
not exactly improving at the rate at which they said it was going to improve back in 2024.
Yeah.
It's moving along nicely. It's
Hmm.
there are some components. It's much better now. We always say the current moment is the worst it's going to be in terms of its
Hmm.
performance. It is significantly better now than it was in 2024, but it's not where we thought it was going to be. We thought we'd be making whole movies by now.
Yeah, I mean I think the benchmark, the kind of strange benchmark was that Will Smith eating spaghetti was
That's right. Yes, we've
the
come a long
benchmark.
way. Yes.
Yeah, and like we've kind of trimmed on the six fingers
Hmm. Yep.
because there was a lot of six finger image generation. And it is getting better, but I think people are going to start to realize that, it's not as great as you think it is. Like
Right.
everyone thinks it's going to be this, like, the great replacement of all the jobs. We're all going to be doing nothing. We're like none of us are going to be useful. We're all going to be basically pawns in this game and everything. I've never believed that personally. And I think that it's really going to start to come into focus and going and to drive this all back to the headline of this point, AI stocks start to lose their luster. I think it's because, people are going to start realizing this.
Yeah. And to reference several, I do mean several of the articles that mentioned the AI stocks losing their luster. I asked myself, well, what's the likelihood of that? Because some of them actually said as much as 20%, so one fifth.
Hmm.
And I used Perplexity at that point to say, can you back this up or find other articles to back this up? And Brian, it gave me a rap sheet of all these financial experts saying that its projections are to go down because there's been so much money pumped into it, and it just over and over and over again. So it was the same thing. I do feel safe in predicting that it's going to lose it. I don't know if it'll lose it by 20%. I do think you're still dealing with some very intelligent people who will come out with the next best thing, or if they keep an eye on their stocks and know that it's going down. But
Hmm.
the other question I asked myself is, what does this mean to us, the layman? And we always got to hint at that bubble situation. Whenever there's a
Hmm.
stock bubble, when it pops, you may be a taxi driver in a major city. There will be a trickle down effect. You'll see
Yeah.
less customers. You will see less stuff. People will lose jobs
Hmm.
as a result. We're not trying to scare anybody. Definitely don't want to scare anybody. People's retirement savings are going to take a hit whenever a bubble bursts or pops. And unfortunately, I don't see this as like a great big bubble burst. I think hopefully this will
Hmm.
be an easy transition down instead of just a sudden one. But there's so many things, so many variables that go on. But it's not exactly AI, but AI will cause some possible pain for the layman as a result of these stocks losing their luster. And
Yeah, I mean the market in general kind of has some ripple effects and everything.
mhm,
But the AI bubble I think could actually be kind of unique because everyone thinks that, this is taking our jobs and some companies are already trying to start that trend as saying, oh, we're going to do AI instead of hiring people. And I think once the bubble bursts, people are going to be like, okay, we can't rely on AI. We need to hire people. So I think they're this one might be a bit of a unique bubble because all these businesses think AI is this great replacement for employees, and once they realize it's not, it may actually have a positive effect.
Right. I'm going to pivot into something we didn't mention for this episode, but I did read about it, is the rise of this position called an AI generalist. And it's a person in a company that has a vast knowledge of AI, but not necessarily specific knowledge of things. So like
Hmm.
I can't do AI encoding, but I know who to talk to make that. What they're saying is after these, if automation, not automation, if like AI powered robots begin to do factory work that a human used to
Hmm.
do, they are still going to require human oversight.
Oh, definitely.
It won't be as many humans,
Hmm.
but that will be one of those jobs that replaces it. Now, the manufacturing of these robots and things like that, that's all, testing of them. It's a constant. When you're testing AI, it is very human. It's a very human thing testing AI to make sure that it's working and things along those lines. I saw
Hmm.
it was a great story on 60 Minutes about a company called Boston Dynamics that is actually making robots that walk like us and can actually do physical stuff like pick up stuff, put it in a container.
Hmm.
They're training these things at a factory where factory workers are there, so they're watching it closely. But it cracked me up that like one robot took about 6 humans to watch, test, make sure that
Hmm.
it was working correctly. So for every robot, we're talking 6 humans. That's
Yeah.
a little bit,
Well,
yeah, that adds jobs when you think of stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, a lot of the robots are being put into place for dangerous situations. If you ever worked in a manufacturing facility, there's a lot of danger involved. There's
Hmm.
a lot of safety protocols that are getting put in place. Like if you're working on for example, a heavy press machine, and you put your product right here, you put this there, that there, and you have to make sure that presses. Well, to make sure that they keep it out of the way, they have a foot pedal that you put your foot in, and then they have your two hands under hand guards, and then you press the two buttons at the same time, and then the press goes down. If your
Mm.
hands or foot are removed from that at any point, then the press just shuts off and it's a safety hazard. So they put a lot of these things in place. And what I've kind of read on my own, just sort of tinkering with a few articles here, is that a lot of companies are looking more into like putting robots in those situations where like the human doesn't have to put themselves in a life threatening
Yes.
situation. So,
My wife and I were watching the same story, and
mm,
we were sitting there going, we're watching these robots do human jobs, and we're going, okay, what's a better use for this? And I don't know if you ever saw the HBO series Chernobyl. It was about what happened at Chernobyl, and
hmm,
there was a scene that was a little scary because the Soviet Union tried to get this robot that would clear this radioactive graphite, I think, or granite maybe, that was on the
hmm,
rooftop of this building, and there was so much radiation that it destroyed the robot immediately. Now, this was the 80s. So they had to
yeah,
use what they called bio robots. Well, bio robots were humans that they wrapped in jackets and stuff like that and gave them 90 seconds to grab a shovel, run out to the roof and clear as much graphite, I think it was graphite, as much of it as possible and throw it back into like this area off the roof.
hmm,
That's a good place for these robots. That's where these robots can go in and get as much of that stuff off. Like very rare cases like that. But you're right, though, that we can put the robots in the dangerous situations and not necessarily the humans.
hmm,
That's a positive. That's
yeah,
clearly a
definitely.
positive with some of this stuff. I
Yeah,
know.
definitely. And like going back to manufacturing, because I feel, the manufacturing industry is where people want to put these robots the most, just to like build things and what have you. But as far as like any kind of manufacturing process, I could tell you, being in the industry, everybody does things their own way. Everybody who's manufacturing, they think they're the best way to program. They know the best way to go about things.
Right.
They have their own standards. There's some general standards and everything, but all these manufacturing processes are different. Every single one of them. You're going to find, maybe some generalizations between the same products and everything, but being able to train a robot to do generalized labor, um, is going to be very difficult because everything is done so differently. I know Amazon has their little robots where they kind of like go up and down the shelves, take things off the shelves, put them on the shelves, and they have that whole
Yeah.
system and everything. But as far as like the general public, it's going to be very difficult.
Agreed.
So,
It is. And time will tell. I know we digressed a
mhm.
little bit on that one, but we do think that's the type stuff that, you know, the money, we need money to
Yeah,
pay for those.
definitely. Yeah, well,
S-
AI robots are a big thing. But anyway, so anything else on the business, or do we want to go into our last point here?
I want to go into the last point because this
Okay.
one is kind of you and I more than it is, although I did see some
Hmm.
supporting evidence, but this one is a you and I prediction more so
Hmm.
than what we read from others that made sense to us and captured it and sent it. And that is we believe by the end of 2026 that Google, which is Gemini, will be the AI leader in the world in terms of innovation. They will be
Hmm.
on the forefront coming out with the new exciting uses for AI, and the other main ones will be playing catch up with them.
Hmm.
So, a little context in history. This is my opinion. This is just Adam's opinion. I have believed that until the end of 2025, OpenAI was pretty much the generator of innovation, and it seemed like everybody else was trying to play catch up with them. At the end of
Hmm.
this year, Google did some things like VO. They did some great things, and as a result of Google doing that, they became temporarily the forefront. And then OpenAI did that Code Red letter, which was one of our top news
Hmm.
stories, and said we've got to release this stuff so we can get it back up in the innovation. And they did that. And right now, it's kind of like, well, who's going to be the next one? Who's going to be the next one? I think at the beginning of the year, you're going to see OpenAI kind of maintain that. But I
Hmm.
think by the mid year, but by June, Google's going to do things that OpenAI just can't do yet.
Hmm.
And some of this goes back to conversations you and I have had off the air of Google's set up nicely.
Oh,
Yeah,
they've been set up for this. The
right.
LLM is basically an analyzed Google search. Like these are the LLMs are the big thing right now, and Google already has the infrastructure in place
Mhm.
to do these like kind of glorified Google searches. So what I mean by this, and just kind of explain it, when you type something into ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, etc. You say, "What is this?" And what it does is it basically does a Google search and it analyzes the search on a broad scale like that and gives you a detailed answer. And Google already had this infrastructure put in place. They've had this built for so many years. And now instead of simply doing a Google search and flipping through articles, now they just have to add this extra layer on it. And that's where they kind of had that bedrock with everything, as far as like kind of the LLMs are concerned. What else are they going to do? It's going to be kind of tricky to see exactly how else they're going to be the forefront, but they have a lot of different products already. They have the Google Calendars, they have the Google Flights. If you ever
Hmm.
booked a flight off Google Flights or what have you, they already have these products in place, and now with AI, they can link these together. And I think this is really where they're going to start to shine in using those kinds of things.
I agree with you. I think at the end of the year, Google at the end of 2025, Google flexed its muscle and
Hmm.
says we're innovative and we're
Hmm.
fixing issues that we previously had, which they have.
Hmm.
They have. I don't think their VO is as good as Sora yet, but I think it will be before the end of the year. I think it'll be better, and there may even be something brand new.
Hmm.
I could see Google being the one where you actually talk to your computer, you talk to your LLM first,
Yeah.
talk normal, which again, that human AI interaction, a little scary. But
Hmm.
if it's like the way you did in Star Trek, hey, computer, do this for me, you're basically giving it a
Hmm.
prompt and it does it for you and it talks to you. It wouldn't shock me if Google's the first one that comes out with that. Wouldn't
Yeah.
shock me.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see exactly where it goes. But they're going to be the leader in that regard and everything, kind of like the basic AI. I think they're, when you look at building an agent, a lot of people are going to look at Google first
Right.
because they're going to have the infrastructure in place. Microsoft, kind of low key, has their Azure Studio, which does a lot of agentic AI and everything. They're not the
Hmm.
cool kid on the block anymore. A lot of people are kind of like, oh, Microsoft isn't cool anymore or what have you. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if they can kind of bring back their luster or whatnot. But
Yeah.
Google has all these like kind of infrastructure in places. One thing I kind of wonder if they have the muscle to do it are all these kind of like specialized AI tools. And what I mean by that is music generation, image generation. You've alluded to VO, their movie
Yeah.
generation. Runway ML is already, that's all they do is video generation. So maybe they won't quite be on that level as far as movie production.
They may not, but when it comes to who's going to have the best innovation when it comes to the customer who's going to give their $20 a month. Now, if you're in the field where you need
Hmm.
runway, yes, of
Hmm.
course you're going to give them your money. You're going to get a big
It's gonna be
account. You're going to
niche.
use it a lot, and because it is going to be better than Google. But for our layman's, which is
Hmm.
probably the biggest, it's not probably,
It is.
it's going to be, it is already, and it's going to be an even bigger chunk of the market in 2026.
No,
Our layman's
definitely.
are looking for best bang for the buck, and they like innovation. We like when
Hmm.
Apple does an update on on their iPhones, and it works better for us, even if it
Hmm.
looks funny at first.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
like it when it works better.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, I think that's kind of gonna be the central of everything. And I talk about those specialized tools, Adobe, Firefly. They're the ones that do
Hmm.
Photoshop as well. They might be the leaders in image generation. I know Midjourney has been kind of the top dog in that for a while. But, like Google to ChatGPT, where Google has the infrastructure to take over the LLM market, Adobe has the infrastructure to take over the image generation because they already had the Photoshop tools. Now they just need to apply the AI layer to their Photoshop tools.
Absolutely.
So, like, it'll be interesting kind of see there. I know music is kind of, I don't really know many music generators out there. I know Suno, there's a few more of them, but I don't think Google has a music generator, do they? I don't
I
think
don't think
so.
so. Not yet. I know
Yeah.
they've got audio for their videos, which is
Hmm.
interesting.
Well,
But other than that, I mean, no, not yet. Maybe that's what's coming.
yeah, who knows? But yeah, I think but going back as far as the general layman's AI market, which is our audience that we go for, I
Hmm.
think Google is going to be kind of your go-to for the general population.
I can see it happening.
I use Gemini a lot whenever I'm trying to like figure something out as far as hey, what's a good thing for this over here or what have you. Just kind of like the generalization of everything and just kind of doing some basic sort of research or what have you. I already use Gemini quite a bit. Some
Hmm.
people use a lot of different ones. For any kind of like project type stuff, I use Claude. As far as like anything that requires like programming or
Yeah, and
engineering, I'll use it. But
files and multiple files and things like that. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So it's but it all goes back to Google because they already have these built-in tools and everything, like I said, with the calendars and everything. What
Hmm.
else do they have? I just kind of want to take a look at this here. They got so many kind of options.
I still love the fact that they're associated with Notebook LM. I think that's a
Hmm.
powerful, powerful learning tool.
Notebook
Uh,
LM, that's one of the big ones right there, and
it's
that's where I
huge.
think people are going to start to really look at those and everything.
Yeah.
What other products do they have? Oh man, there's so many I can't even look at all of them. But,
You know what? That's something we should touch upon for just a moment. Sometimes when I go to Google and I look at what you're looking at, I get
mhm,
overwhelmed because I think three of them do the same thing.
yeah, definitely.
And I don't have time to play with each and every single one. If Google could find a way to consolidate those to make it easier for the person using the tools, a little bit like what OpenAI did when they had their different models and they basically created this 5.2 that picks the model that you should use based on what
Hmm.
your prompt is. I think if Google does a little bit of that, which they may do already, I don't use Gemini enough. I use it.
Yeah.
I don't use it enough though. I don't have a paid one. But if they do that, that would help out the customer, the layman.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I just kind of finally brought up their products. I was trying to look at it. They got a lot. We talked about
Yeah.
flights. They got the Authenticator. They got Fitbit. I forgot they bought Fitbit. And everything. They got the Family Link. Disclosure, my daughter's tablet, I have full control over it. And I could tell Google be like, hey, what's my daughter doing? Or how much does she use her tablet today? And it can give me a full breakdown. I can say, okay, uh, cut her off from the tablet and don't let her come on for another 2 hours, etc.
Nice.
But Google Fit, and everything. What else we got? Google Translate. That's a big one right there. I
It
think
is.
is like that translate right there is really where they're gonna kind of come into focus right there. Google Lens is another one that is like where Gemini is integrated into. I don't know if you ever used Google Lens
I
at all.
I did it. I think when I first came out, then I said I'm not sure what I would use this for.
Yes, that's kind of like an interesting thing. That is just an aspect of Gemini, actually, if you think about it.
Right. It is.
So we're
It
kind
is.
of looking at all these things, and this like the reason I'm like going through all these and everything is just to kind of show that they have this infrastructure in place. All these little elements that we have, as far as using AI, their LLM Gemini, they have these things in place already. So this is going to be an interesting Google Shopping, Google Travel. You got the wallet and everything. So,
Start
um,
incorporating all that with AI.
yeah,
Powerful tool.
and
Powerful tool.
it's already elements of AI. They just need to bring them together. But
Yeah.
anyway, that kind of all the topics we have to talk about.
Mhm.
Adam, anything else you have to say or final
No,
thoughts?
I'm excited for where 2026 is going to take us in terms of AI and usage, especially for our, the common people who use it. And time will tell if we're right about this or not. Maybe we'll remember this episode at the end of 2026 and see how our predictions came and went. I certainly hope we're wrong about the AI stock market, but I don't think we are. But
I do.
I think we're also going to be right about the Google thing. So time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of one thing to add. It's going to be interesting to see how the pushback against data centers is going to hinder everything.
Yeah,
Because that is a big one right there. These data centers are the heart of AI, and a lot of people are not liking them.
I
Um,
I think that's going to be its own episode in the
yeah,
springtime. I think
yeah,
we're going to know
definitely.
more about what's going on, how this fits in with the American plan for AI integration. That is definitely going to be an episode this year in
Hmm.
terms of what does it mean for everybody and why we have to have them. Yeah, they're a necessary evil.
Hmm.
I don't want to say evil, but like there are concerns when you put in data centers.
No, there's legit concerns, and people are starting to finally like connect and say, hey, put a stop to this. And
Hmm.
the company's like, no, we need them. And they're like, everyone's like, hold on a second. And I think the companies are going to be forced to say, hey, let's work on this together. And I think there's a way you can find a middle ground
Yeah,
to make these data centers and to not get so intrusive, in
right.
my opinion. But anyway, that's kind of my final thought of the evening. I think that kind of wraps this up.
Hmm.
And well, actually, one more bold prediction for 2026.
Oh,
The Layman's AI podcast is gonna get big. This is gonna get huge.
it's going to get
I've
huge.
like,
That's
I don't know
right.
if you've listened to it yet, but it is a great podcast. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of a self fluff there. But either way, I'd like to thank everybody for taking their time out of their day to listen to us. My name is Brian,
And I'm Adam.
and you have been listening to the Layman's AI, and we will see you next time.